and take it away.
Okay, sounds good. I did make a video and I posted it on our Presidio family Facebook page, but if you didn't take the time to watch it or look at the flyer, I'd want you to make note of the phone number, UCAR's phone number, and that is 801-226-3777. And maybe Yvonne or Steve, you could put that in the comment section as well. You can just call today. We only have a couple more days. This fundraiser ends at the end of Friday. And so you can call and pay with a credit card over the phone. It's super easy. And they'll email you a receipt. And if you don't want to do it that way, you can send a Venmo donation. And that's at Utah Central Realtors. So again, you can call UCAR 801-226-3777 or Venmo a donation at Utah Central Realtors. And you guys, we have prizes. We've collected so many prizes, and that's why we extended the fundraiser, because these prizes, you know, came out of money out of our pockets, and those members of the committee have donated these awesome prizes, and we don't want to just give them away unless we have enough donations so it makes sense. And Presidio is one of the brokerages that has donated the most so far, but we still are low on our donations. And so this is for a really good cause. Watch my video. It's for the Utah Guard Charitable Trust. And they have systems in place already all over the state of Utah to help any service member's family when they're in time of need. And so during everything going on with our nation right now and in the state, this is a great thing to focus on something positive. So I really encourage you guys to get involved in this. We haven't been able to do our normal fundraisers or meet in big groups. And so we had to come up with a virtual way to get this accomplished this year. So as chair, I'm pleading with my Presidio family members to please help support us, because we need some more support. And you can share the video on your social media or just put a blurb on there about it. So does anybody have any questions about that fundraiser before I go into our staging class today?
Hey, Kim, I'd just like to say I'm an auctioneer, and I love to help out in those situations when we can get together in groups again. Just keep me in mind. I'd love to help you raise money. So when you get things donated, I'll bring a group together. I'll talk fast and sell it for you.
I love it. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Kim, what was the Venmo again, so I can post it in the chat notes? I didn't get it.
Thank you. It's the @ Utah spelled out Central Realtors. No spaces, just all together.
Got it. Thank you. I'll put it in the chat. Got
it. Thanks. Okay. If there are not any other questions, we're going to jump right into staging. So just so some of you know my background really quick, I've been in the real estate industry for quite a while, but before that I owned an organizing business where I would go into people's homes and offices and help them literally organize every aspect of their life or home or office, all the way down to closets and stuff. And that's how I got into real estate, because I would be hired to get homes ready to sell them. And so then it was natural for me to get my license. And I really enjoyed meshing all of those things together in my real estate career. And I decided, when I was asked to address owner-occupied homes as well as vacant and virtual staging, so much of what you do in an owner-occupied home is similar to a vacant home. So I'm going to put those two together and address them at the same time. And then at the end, I will give you some information on virtual staging that is becoming really popular right now in our industry. So I'm going to start out by sharing a PowerPoint, and we're just going to cross our fingers that I can figure out how to do this. And then if you guys do have questions, please just unmute yourself and ask them, or my helpers, Yvonne and Steve, let me know if I'm missing questions. Okay, can somebody tell me, just speak through their microphone and let me know if you can see this?
Nope.
Was that a no?
No. Can't
Okay.
see it yet.
Okay, hold on a second.
There we go.
Good job.
Yep.
All right, can you see this now? Staging?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, the rest is going to be a piece of cake. That was the only part I was worried about. All right, here we go. Okay, so most of these pictures, they're not perfect because I took them from homes I have staged or worked with, and I wanted it to be real life for you guys. I stole a few, and I'll explain when I did do that, just for examples, but I'm sure all of us can relate to this first picture. When you've walked into a listing appointment and something like this is the first thing you see. So I thought I'd start out with just, you know, we can all take a deep breath. We've all been there. We've had whether it's been a hard situation where we don't even know where to start directing clients and cleaning up their homes, you know, and that's why we're having this class, and that's why we are in real estate, to help people get through their stuff and make their house look great. So about 75% of staged homes sell for 10% or so more. They have done some research, and I was able to pull those statistics off internet. And it is very possible to do minimal staging that won't break the bank. I've had a couple agents reach out to me, you know, and say, you know, we're working on a really small budget. Can you give us some ideas? And so specifically with vacant homes, I have found that when you walk in the front door, it's very helpful to at least minimally stage the living room and the dining room. The bedrooms and the kitchens and the bathrooms really sell themselves. I used to haul in beds for bedrooms when I first started offering staging to my clients as well as other realtors. And it's just not worth the headache. And it's not hard for buyers to walk in and visualize what a bed will look like with a dresser or a nightstand. They just sell themselves. So it is helpful though to do the living room and that dining area, especially when it's an unusual shape. Some dining rooms are longer, or the area doesn't flow very well from the kitchen into the dining area. So, and then that living room, whatever you enter into straight from the front door, is super important to make it inviting and welcoming to the buyer. And then throwing some hand towels and rugs, some few decor items are helpful on the counters. Being in the business, it's really important to have some idea of what looks good and what doesn't. And if that's not your strength, you know, trade services with another agent or pay for a trained eye. I already help some of our own Presidio agents with this, and I love it. They hire me to just come in and do a quick walkthrough with owner-occupied homes and help them know where to start. The hardest thing is for sellers to know where to start. They can't wait to move. They've been transferred out of state, but they get excited about it, and they're ready to work hard, but they're not really sure where to start because every part of their house is cluttered and requires some kind of attention. And so I've learned over the years that it's just helping them get started. Once they get that fire under them, they're up into the wee hours of the night, and they're super excited to pack things up and to declutter and make their homes look good. Also, I start, and another thing, I have to apologize up front, guys, because this really became a presentation of everything that I have learned is important in selling a home. So it kind of flows in and out of some staging things. I might take it farther than you had expected, but this really is everything that I do to help my clients be successful in selling their home for top dollar. So I hope that you'll bear with me as I get through it. I always start in the front yard, at the front door. And I'm with my client, and whether I'm being hired to help this person or they're my seller that I'm working with, we start in the front yard and we evaluate the front porch, and we want that to be an area that is welcoming and that doesn't look run down and gross and dirty and has a nice fresh welcome mat. So This entryway is just as important because it's the first thing that welcomes them into the home. So in this before picture here, you'll notice there's a dog there. And I chose that on purpose because he had chewed these table legs on this entryway table. And so we decided, the homeowner and I, that we would just remove that table. And that's why I brought in another table in the after picture. And you'll see that we taped the walls with blue tape so she could know where she needed to touch up paint. And then we also agreed that it was just too cluttered. She didn't really have a theme going on. So we just brought in some seasonal flowers to welcome when, you know, the buyers when they came in the entryway there. So on this slide, I mentioned pets at the bottom. So this is always a big one. I know you guys have dealt with this a lot too. I just mentioned the furniture. If pets have, you know, wreaked havoc on furniture, it's best to just remove it. The ideal situation is to remove the pets from the home in general and have it professionally cleaned, carpets as well as everything else. But if that's not possible to have them stay with friends or family, we know that we have to put it in the, you know, on the MLS, agent remarks, let people know there's a dog in the house and give them showing instructions and that kind of thing. But if it's possible, have the seller take the dog with them, have them go to the park or something, and definitely try and remove all signs of the pet. Also, I will even pay, if it's necessary, for my clients to have a professional cleaning company come in. After you've decluttered the whole house, it's the best way to make it just sparkle and shine. Unless someone already lives at that standard, you know, and we do have clients who keep beautiful homes and have time to do that. And in that case, you wouldn't have to do it. This second bullet point here is pretty much a summary of what you want to do in every single area of the home. And a lot of it's not new to you, but you want to clear off all the surfaces, countertops, drawers, closets, clean out the basement. A lot of the times we try and show basements, you know what I'm talking about. You walk through it and you can't even walk through those storage spaces because there's so much clutter and things that just haven't even been used over the years. And so to maximize that space, you want to clean it out and help the buyer see how they could use that space and make it their, you know, make it their own. And I always just tell clients, hey, look at it this way. You're getting half or more of your packing done ahead of time. And it's a great time to decide to donate stuff and get rid of things. I love moving for that reason. It helps people realize, oh, we haven't used this in years. Let's ditch it. Let's give it to somebody who can repurpose it. And then only pack what they need in their new home. And you can store items. I'm asked this question a lot in the garage or in a space that's, you know, neatly organized. You can stack a bunch of boxes. There's no problem with that. People know you're moving. But if there's an excess of things, I'm all about getting it off the property so that it'll help the house sell. You can put it in a family member's garage or get a storage unit short term. I am not a fan of storage units for a long period of time. I think it's a waste of money. I'm not encouraging people, you know, to get a storage unit and store stuff there for years and years and years. Like, I don't think that's a great idea. But for a short term, while we're trying to sell a house, there's no problem with it at all. So this was a funny picture that caught my eye because it's just an example of surfaces. Two reasons I bring this one in. First of all, just obviously you want to clear everything off of here. And second of all, I get asked about pianos and like drum sets, you know, where people have like a whole gig set up in their garage or in their home and they want to know if they need to move it all before we list a home. And, you know, pianos are heavy. You can't store them in storage units unless they're climate protected. And you want to have, you want to also pay a professional company to move a piano. So it's just easier to do it once and move that final time when you sell the home. So I'm all about working around staging with the piano there. I don't have a problem with that. And I don't think buyers have a problem with it either, as long as it's not in a weird place in the home. And so I'm all about working with, you know, you can stage a downstairs space or a room around a drum set or something like that. But for sure, make sure that they're cleaned off. So this is a real life example of a home in Highland. And so To the left is the before picture, and we agreed that, and this was her cleaning before I got there, but we agreed that for professional pictures and for it to show the best, that room had enough little trinkets in it. So to the right, you'll see that we did, in fact, move everything off the piano, and it showed really well for the pictures. Jumping to family rooms and living rooms. I should stop and ask, does anybody have any questions at this point? All right, we'll just keep on going. So to living rooms, we've already talked about decluttering and getting rid of, you know, things that are on top of surfaces. That's always like the first thing you can start with. And then also just use neutral colors with furniture and slip covers. You can cover, you know, nasty furniture with a great slip cover and put some pillows on there and it looks great. But use neutral colors, and then you can add pillows and blankets for a pop of color. I have a storage unit with furniture that I use often, and it's just been so helpful over the years to have a neutral set of sofas or some neutral pieces of furniture, and then you can add any kind of color with very inexpensive pillows or throws or plants or things like that based upon their color scheme or paint colors or their personalities, what they want to do. I always strive for symmetry. Does anybody have any reason why, when you're in doubt of how you're making a room look inviting, why would you want symmetry? And that means to make things look balanced or equal. Why would you want to do that?
I would say it's easy on the eyes. It's more of a flow for your home when people are walking through.
Good girl. That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's what I like in my home. So.
No, that's perfect, Terry. Good job. It's very pleasing to the eye, and we'll have some pictures that we'll look at in a little later that demonstrate that. So you are exactly right. Good job. Green plants show up really well in photos. That pop of green, you'll notice, work really well. You can use lamps too. This is a before and after picture of the living room. So what are some things that you guys just call out? What do you see that are a problem here, or at least that we could make it better?
Get rid of the missionary.
Unfortunately, yes, that's a personal item.
You know, I actually recommend, the first thing that I tell people is to take down all family pictures. And the reason why I do that is, number one, I want them to associate themselves walking into the home and viewing the property as their own, not as someone else's. But secondly, I've walked into homes when I first started, before I started making that kind of the rule, where people were like, oh, I know that guy. And whether it was a bad, or, you know, they know somebody that lives in that home and from some experience in the past. So I always say, take all family pictures off the walls immediately.
That's perfect, Brandon. I agree 100%. Good one. What else?
Tell them to move the bulky chair out of the way by the fireplace.
Okay, good. Any other thoughts?
Put some blinds.
They don't have those in this. Yeah, it's hard to see, but they actually have them.
The picture, the furniture looks, I mean, it doesn't match. I don't know. It just kind of looks off to me, but.
Good.
It's matched, but it's look like a clustered.
Yeah, it just doesn't look right to me, but.
Okay, good. See, and that's what we're supposed to be able to do, right? Is to walk into a room and be able to help them in a kind way, make it look more inviting. So this is what we did with it. This is our after. And obviously, professional pictures make a big difference, right?
Yes.
The lighting's better. I brought in an area rug because it just helps tie the room together and anchor everything. I moved to them, get rid of that big old sofa. It just took up, it swallowed the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That looks beautiful.
So doesn't that look nice? We have the fireplace on. We've got symmetry with the trees, symmetry with the pillows and the chairs.
Yeah.
So it looks better, huh?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments before we move on? We're going to kind of go through different rooms of the house.
I can unmute real quick because I have a question. I put it in the chat, but do you hang new pictures to stage it, or do you just have them take off what they have?
That's a really good question. I do a little bit of both. It depends if they have, how many pictures they have hung. So if it's like a photo wall where they have a collage of a lot of family pictures, which people do, and we've asked them, you know, and suggested to take down the family pictures for the reasons that Brandon brought up, usually it ends up becoming a painting chore where they just need to patch up the holes and paint it. And if you wanted to, you know, hang up one picture, I like to use those lightweight canvas, the wrapped, you know, scenery of nature or something that's calming or just picks out, you know, some colors from a pillow or something in the room. I will hang those canvas ones because they're lightweight and I can use those 3M tabs or one nail and it'll hold it up with no problem and not cause damage to the wall. So it depends on the
next question. So
depends on the particular area.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Kim, we have another question in our chat box from
Okay.
Sam. He says, what type of post-processing is done with these photos? Any?
Can you repeat that? What type of what is done?
Post-processing. I'm not sure what he means. Sam, are you on?
Like, are you touching up the pictures and stuff like that, he means?
This particular example, like going from here, this was taken with my cell phone. This was the professional photographer we paid to come take pictures of the house. So he was using a professional camera with a lens, and we went around the house and turned on all the lights. And this is what I do with any photographer. I open the blinds so they're halfway, and we get the room ready. So this is with every light on and with his professional lens. So I'm not sure, I can't speak to what he did, but that's what I do know.
So I think what he's also referring to there is, did he put the fireplace on, or was that photoshopped in? Were the clouds in the background added, or was that actually what happened that day? Because I see a lot of photographers that do that afterwards.
Oh, okay, okay, I get what you're going with. That was how it was outside. The fireplace we turned on, and the TV that you see above the console by the plants and the candles, the homeowner turned that on. That was the screensaver. So the photographer did not add those things. That's just things that we did. But I'm sure I'm sure a photographer could do those things.
Well, and I'll just add my 2 cents on that. I prefer if the photographer doesn't do those things, because you can tell if it's been photoshopped many times. Like, you can look at those pictures and see where it's like all of a sudden the sky is extra beautiful, and it just takes away from the house. You're selling the house, not the sky out back.
And I agree with you. I actually had a photographer do that with the windows because it was not a sunny day. It was like overcast. And so he decided that it would look better that way. And I agree with you. I thought it was not well done. Like, I didn't think it looked well. It was done well. So maybe this is overkill. I don't know. But in this situation, we did those three, we turned on the fireplace and.
Well, I think you're fine. In what you did here, that looks great. I think what whoever made that comment was referring to was there any photoshopping, because it looks so much better than the first pictures.
Got it. And that's one of the reasons I use this, because, how many times do we say use a professional photographer? Because this is a perfect example. You're going from my cell phone, which is not, I have an iPhone, but to this. So yeah, for sure.
But also lens make a difference too. Photographic person too. So lenses make a difference too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I would say, I know in the photographic language, he used just the lens and little bit Photoshop after that, but most of the lens.
Yeah. And most of the time, at least the photographers that I've worked with, I won't ask them to, I ask them not to Photoshop a whole lot unless there's like in the yard, sometimes we'll have a pile of trash or something that is unsightly, you know, and I'll ask them to Photoshop that out so that you can't see it in the picture, or there's a car in the neighbor's driveway or something like that. But those are the few times that I've asked for Photoshopping. Otherwise, I think it looks better just like it is.
The whole thing is we need to present the best.
Yes, but at the same time, we want to present it at its best, but at the same time, we don't want to present it in a way that it isn't true.
Correct.
Because then the buyers will get there and be disappointed. So it's a balance. All right, moving on, unless anybody has any other questions.
No.
All right, awesome. Let's talk about the kitchen. Again, from top to bottom, you've got to clean the kitchen. There's so many times where it doesn't matter what kind of cook you are, but there's just layers of grime above the stovetop on those cabinets or on the vent. And you want to clear the fridge of the magnets and the kids' drawings, and countertops, you want to clear those. And pack up dishes, except for maybe one set that matches, because you can leave those in cabinets that have glass doors on them. I tell people to just keep what you need to eat meals, or even use paper plates, and minimize everything in your cupboards and drawers. You've got to clean inside and outside, wipe everything down. Sometimes you do need to paint. That's a conversation sometimes we have to have with our sellers, and possibly adding hardware. I've been in some kitchens that don't have it, even though that's how the builder did it. Sometimes it's better to add some nice hardware, and that can really help the kitchen look refreshing and inviting, and also easier to use and help the life of the cabinets. The pantry, we shouldn't forget that. Clean that out, even if it's behind a door, leaving empty space to make it look bigger. You can use decorative baskets and bins. Remember to put heavy things on the bottom and light things on the top, and then get rid of the trash can. We don't want to see the trash cans, especially in the photos. So this is the before and after. I went for the listing appointment, and we talked about these things. I went over how when the photographer comes, or when people come to look at her house, she would need to clear the things off the fridge, and that's why I use this photo as an example. And then just obviously countertops clear. And it's okay in the right-hand side to see how there's a few things on the counter. That's fine. And if there are some dishes in the sink, that's fine too. We still have to live in our spaces if it is owner occupied. But these pictures were just taken with a cell phone. I was just using the fridge and the kitchen as an example. So I feel like kitchens are pretty explanatory. Also, prepare your seller that the buyers will open all these drawers. So you don't want things falling out on the floor, and you don't want them to be yucky and grimy. Explain to them that they're going to be peeking around and checking it out and trying to imagine themselves living and cooking in that space. This is that house we just looked at the living room for, and I wanted you to notice how to the left, can you just point out some things that you do see are different that we did in the picture on the right?
Yeah, move extra furniture out and move everything from the shelves.
Yes. Sorry, the angles aren't exactly the same, but does anybody notice anything else?
The couch, the corner of the couch is out.
Yep, we got rid of the couch.
Did you remove the bar stools?
We have less bar stools, good. And then there's one other thing I'm hoping somebody will notice.
You put some hand towels in there.
Good job. We did do that for a pop of color.
Did they paint the island?
Yay! Good job. We decided that we just were going to lighten it up because it felt dark. The kitchen felt dark. And so just painting the island alone, do you see the difference it made there? Obviously, we already have identified that the picture on the right is a professional one, but it made a really big difference to that whole space just by painting the island.
Even your tile colors look like change.
It just looks better for sure. with the professional pictures.
Yes.
Okay, we did, on the left you can't see, but we did take some chairs away from the table too. There were they needed chairs, you know, for that many people to sit on, but people can sit on a bar stool or sit on, you know, a chair. They don't necessarily need to have their 12 chairs around their table when they're trying to sell their house. So that's another thing I have found is helpful, is to not have an excess of chairs around the dining room table. Okay, let's move on to bedrooms unless there's any questions. All right. Less is always more as far as furniture and little knickknacks go. So everything applies to what we talked to before in the kitchen and the living room areas. We're just trying to reduce the amount of items that are in the room and make the space look large. We want to pack up as many clothes as we can that aren't being used during the current season. I always say, people are like, well, how many is that? And I'm like, well, at least get rid of half. You want your closets to breathe. You want the clothes to not be jammed up against each other and touching. You want buyers to be able to walk in and imagine that there's enough space for them to move their things in there. You can switch out broken, mismatched hangers for matching ones. It's a pretty inexpensive fix, but makes a gigantic difference in the look. Obviously, it's our job to recommend to our clients to pack away valuable jewelry or guns or things that they should not leave out. I always recommend general neutral colors, and this is why. This was a master bedroom. I was in a hurry, so I apologize. This is just what I could find in my phone. But to the left, we have an interesting color in a master bedroom. It's not that it wouldn't work. It's, you know, the furniture's beautiful, the color's beautiful, but are there some gentlemen on this call that wouldn't want to necessarily have that color in their master bedroom? Or does that not offend anybody?
Fine.
Doesn't work for me, man. No way.
Come on, Dan, you know you want it.
I can't even sell that. I'm sorry. Can't even talk fast for that.
Well, you can see what I did on the right. I just suggested we go clean it up and make it more inviting to anybody who walked in the room. And so, does everybody agree that the white just works a little better?
Yes.
Okay, and we still kept the pink flowers on the right, on the nightstand there, but you know, the white just works better. So keep those colors gender neutral. And in kids' rooms, I always recommend removing the, you know, whatever it is. In my room, it was, you know, growing up, it was the Bon Jovi poster. But whatever the kids have, you know, whether it be personal photos like we already talked about, or gigantic posters or things that really overpower the room, we just want to neutralize the bedrooms. This is another master bedroom. She was really worried because this set was beat up pretty bad, but we just put in the, if you can look in the right hand side here on top of the nightstand, we just put a flat tray, and that covered up a lot of the scratches and the stuff that she was worried about on top of the nightstands because they had been scraped up pretty bad. But we just put a tray on either side and then some greenery, and then just tried to add some color to the bed because they didn't really have anything going on. And then of course, professional pictures help as well. This is another example of my cell phone on the left and then professional on the right. All right, so anybody have any questions about bedrooms?
No.
All right. So I already showed the example of the island in the kitchen, which really turned out to be a good thing for them. They got an offer pretty quick, and we felt like the painting they did really helped. But people ask me that all the time. I know you guys get that same question, you know, should we paint? Should we put the money, the effort into painting, or pay somebody to do it? And if we're dealing with really crazy colors or dark paneling, I just don't see how you can't go wrong with painting. Neutral colors work so well. It's a blank palette for the buyer to come in. They can do whatever they want. I've had people argue, well, I even had this happen to me a couple of times, quite a few times, where the seller has painted and then the buyer has come in and literally painted right over it, like an accent wall or something. And they have found out about it or been like, oh my gosh, it was a waste. And I said, not at all. It helps sell your home, you know, and they were able to visualize how they wanted to make it their own space. So I just don't think painting, I don't think it's a bad idea. And while you're looking at the paint, check the switch plates and the outlet covers, make sure all those things look new, that they're not broken. Those little things make a really big difference. Replace light bulbs. I can't tell you how many times I've seen pictures on the MLS and you can see there's the fan up in the top of the picture and 2 of the light bulbs are out. 2 are on and 2 are off. I just think that's like the dumbest thing because it's so simple to change those out and it makes a huge difference and it adds more light, which makes your pictures better. Wash the windows inside and out. Obviously repair broken things. How's this for an example? So this was a bonus room up above a garage. And they had obviously there was a lot of things up here, a lot of things going on. So we talked about removing it. So to the right, we just decided to leave it nice and open so that the buyer could visualize what they could do with the space because it had been a game room before. And then obviously, I don't know why pink is a thing, but we've got pink going on again here. So they just did neutral colors, covered right over the pink.
That goes well with the bedroom.
Yeah, it's not the same house though.
Okay.
Different house. But if you know, I just felt like this was the perfect example of how just a little bit of paint is going to make a gigantic difference. I also use this one as an example because up here at the ceiling, there's no way you would know this, but the ceiling fan was broken. It had been it had been bent and didn't function. And so over here to the right is a new ceiling fan which functions and the lights turn on. So there's my example of painting. We'll move on
I
to
have a question about that bedroom or bonus room. What did those people do? What did you suggest they do with that furniture? Because that's what I have a hard time with, the big pieces. If they don't want to get a storage unit, or maybe you suggest that they need a storage unit, what do you do with?
And that's a hard conversation I agree to have with people, but I tell them that if they want to get top dollar for their home, it's worth the effort on the front end. And I even have participated in helping them get friends or family or movers over to get things heavy like this out, because it just makes a gigantic difference. And so in their situation, they finally did get a storage unit just for short term. You know, you can rent them month to month. And so you only have to do that for a couple months and it really doesn't cost that much if you're able to, you know, list your house for what it should be sold for, rather than, oh, well, we'll take less, you know, because it's not in good shape or it's cluttered. So I always try and encourage people to first just move things to the garage. They can always park in the driveway if they have the garage as an option, and to cover up furniture or stack boxes neatly. I always suggest that first. And if they're not open to that, or if they have to park cars in the garage or there's not room in the garage, then we have a conversation about selling items. Like these items that were up here hadn't been used in years. And that piece to the right was to a sectional that they didn't even use. And so we just talked about how, you know what, I really need to just donate these things, or I could hop on Marketplace, Facebook and sell them, or KSL. And so I help people talk through their options. And do you know what's crazy? They come up with the solution most of the time themselves.
Thank you.
So Kim? So Kim, after you've done all this, have you had anybody decide not to sell and just stay there because it looks so much better?
I actually have had that happen, to be honest. I totally, this is kind of backwards, but I had a listing appointment a couple weeks ago in Saratoga Springs and walked through the home with the homeowner, and I kind of did this consulting just with her, because that's what that's one way I sell myself is, hey, you get these skills and I can help you decide what to do. I bring the skill set with me if you use me as your realtor. And it was really funny because she just texted me a couple days ago and she's like, you know what? You've pointed out so many good things about our home, and I'm going to take your advice and clean it up, that we're going to stay here and have our next baby and then we'll move. And so I'll call you next year. So then I was kind of like, oh, that worked against me maybe. So hopefully I'll hear from them next year. But yeah, it's interesting how sometimes you help people see their space in a different light, and you never know. All right, bathrooms are no fun, but it drives me crazy when we're showing houses. This just happened to me in Payson, going through a townhome, and the house really was nice. It was clean, and we go into the bathroom. It was like they just decided not to clean the bathroom. Like the toilet was so gross. Something had died in there, I swear. And I just don't get why that's not a priority to people, because whether they use it or not, they're still going to step in there. They're going to peek in there and see what your bathrooms are like. So you've got to clean and sanitize them. If you don't want to do, if the clients don't want to do it themselves, hire somebody. It's worth every penny. Shower doors, same thing. Why would you clean a master bathroom but not scrub that shower door? Or people haven't squeegeed them, and so they have these layers and layers of grime, and you usually have to use vinegar or work really hard to get that clean. But in my opinion, it's necessary because it's going to sell better. Obviously, fix all the leaky things, or the things that if a toilet seat's loose or needs to be replaced. And once again, remove the clutter. I know I sound like a broken record, but the countertops have to be clear. And you can hide stuff in decorative baskets that you need, that the seller has to use if they're still living there. If it's vacant, obviously it's easier to do that if they've moved out. And then a question I get all the time is, should I only use white fluffy towels? Because online people, they'll get on Pinterest and they get these ideas that you can only use white towels. And I think it's a personal preference. Why do they do white? Does anybody know, or have they read about it, or?
It looks clean.
Yeah.
Yep, it does. And you can't go wrong with white. It's like a hotel. You're giving people that luxury hotel spa experience with a white towel. But it doesn't hurt if you have a white. I might go for a white shower curtain, or at least a new shower curtain. You can get one for $10. It's totally worth the money for that. And if you've got white paint, white countertops, and you've got the whole thing white, sometimes it's too sterile. So I look at the whole room together as a picture, as a whole. And if it's all white, then I'll add a pop of color or something. Here's an example. Like if it's just a very, very neutral white, to the left here, you'll see I added a pop of color because it was just white. We had a new shower curtain that was white. We have white, everything else, white, white, white. So it's just a little bit of a happy pop of color. To the right here, we've got darker cabinets. And so I used a white towel. And then to the right, there's white towels there too. So
is it a different picture?
These are two different bathrooms in two different houses.
Right.
So I'm just showing you an example of, to the left, I used a towel that's not white. And then to the right, I have white towels in this bathroom. And you don't need a lot.
How much is the typically staging cost for the house?
Do you mind if I get to that a little later?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. In vacant homes, I would recommend to you and to your sellers to leave a roll of toilet paper and soap and paper towels to wash their hands in a wastebasket to throw away the paper towels. If you leave a hand towel there, it gets really gross, and if you're not stopping by your vacant listing, then that can be used for other things or get dirty over time. So I find the paper towels to be a good way to solve that problem. I don't know about if you guys have had any mishaps with this, but because I have some sellers that don't want people using their bathrooms. And obviously if the water's turned off, it's a given, you shouldn't use it, right? Because you can't flush it. But I have just been out with too many buyers and had too many experiences where it always happens. It's inevitable that the 5-year-old has to go to the bathroom, or somebody needs to use the restroom, and it's a lot more helpful if there's a roll of toilet paper there to make that happen successfully. And I had one listing where the seller was adamant. She was like, I don't want, you know, people using the bathroom. And so we didn't leave toilet paper. We left notes, actually. I don't know how many of you guys use little staging notes. I can't remember what Jen calls them, but I love to leave those for people, whether you're saying, you know, please take your shoes off and use our shoe covers, or thank you for showing today, turn off all the lights when you leave, or this space has future plumbing and electricity for a spa in the backyard. Like, those little cue cards are really helpful to direct buyers through a house, little directional signs. So we had put one in the bathroom that said, please don't use the bathroom. And well, somebody had to go to the bathroom. We're guessing it was a kid, and they left a mess, you guys. I'm talking about a mess nobody would want to come home to. And it was all over the toilet, and it was a child. We had surmised that it had to have been a child. You know, and I called the buyer's agent, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is not acceptable. Like, why did you leave my seller's bathroom like this? And long story short, I don't know if any of you guys have had experiences like that, but it's better to leave, in my opinion, the toilet paper there so that somebody could use it if they need to. And then just check on it. If it's a vacant home, I always go by every week and check on the home anyway, and just make sure that the floors are swept and that it's vacuumed and that the bathrooms are in good condition. And then use air freshener. But don't overdo it with the air freshener. Like, have you guys walked into some homes where it smells like, it doesn't smell good? Like, they chose some kind of a floral scent and it's just overtaking the whole house and doesn't smell good. So it's better to go with something that's a little more neutral, like those clean air ones, or the Tide laundry, or something that's not a really overbearing flowery scent. So anybody have any stories?
I have a story and a question. So I've actually shown, you know, I mean, a lot of have shown. And I had a house I sold in Mapleton that was my own. And my daughter had little toys. She had her dollhouse set up, and she had her little toy dolls and whatever. And a lot of the couples that would come into the house to see the house would bring their children, and a lot of my daughter's toys got stolen during this time period. Is it appropriate to ask parents to leave their kids at home when showing a house? Because I feel like that could happen quite a bit, where kids just pick up toys when they're going with their parents, and their parents are occupied looking at the rooms and everything, and aren't really watching their kids. How appropriate is it to ask parents to leave their kids home when they're looking at homes that people are living in?
I'm sure other people can pipe in and answer that one too. I think that as professionals, we have the right to guide our clients in any way that we see fit. And I think that's completely appropriate. There's other reasons too, that I've had situations where the kids make it so much longer and harder of a process, you know, because we're getting in and out of the van and the car seats and stopping for snacks, and they're having tantrums. And so, but I really feel like if you have buyers that are out of town and don't have family to help them, or like I've had a lot of buyers with a brand new baby or nursing baby, where you do have to make exceptions for that. But I think as professionals, we have to take into account the situation and give, you know, advise them what would be best and tell them why. You know, say, hey, this has happened in the past, and it would just be faster and easier, you know, not to bring them. If you do bring kids, I as an agent try and help with the children. You know, I always tell them not to touch the toys, you know, or I try and keep an eye on the kids so the parents can focus on the house.
But as agents for a seller, we're not in control of what's going on in the home while another agent is bringing a potential buyer.
Correct. So on the seller side, I counsel my seller to pack up the toys and put them away so like, I know it's hard, but like, first of all, half of it gets packed up for the whole time the home is listed. And then the toys that the child is still playing with are put away and with a lid, like in a closet in their bedroom, or, you know, in a cabinet in the living room, or in a basket, so that they're not just out. That's what I tell my seller to do. Clean up the toys, don't have them on the floor or just out, because of course a child is going to just automatically run up and start playing to whatever they see. So
yeah,
that's the advice I've given, is to put them out of sight the best that they can.
Plus, buyer agent has a responsibility as well.
It's true, but we all know that we've had experiences where buyers agents, you know, don't have the same level of professionalism that we wish that they would have. Does anybody have any other ideas to that?
In my buyer's presentation, I always ask people, since this is your biggest purchase and the most amount of money that you'll probably invest, I want you to be able to have your full and undivided attention to the property and the property details. So I would recommend that you get a babysitter for your children. And I can't tell you how that, just saying that, cuts down on the number of kids. And obviously there's going to be some exceptions, like you're talking about the nursing baby or a newborn. But when you don't have to deal with 2 or 3 kids running through the house into bedrooms and that kind of thing, it's just a huge distraction that you can eliminate up front. So I think sometimes if you can just tell that story, you know, tell a little story about the kids that stole stuff or put it in their pockets and didn't mean to steal it, but they did. Tell them about they broke an heirloom in the house, and parents will get it. They'll take the time to get a sitter.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Kim, may I tell you what I do?
Of course.
I do what Jeff does, but if they bring their children, I talk to the children and say, this is someone else's home and there's things in there that might be broken or come missing, and we don't want to be blamed for that. So I want you to hang on to Dad's hand, you hang on to Mom's hand, and I'll hang on to you, and we all stay together so that we are showing responsibility and respect for that house. And you know, kids get it if you talk to them. They get it.
Good.
Yep, I agree. I agree. And Yvonne brought up a good point. I know the question was brought up on the seller side, how can we help our sellers? But helping buyers through a home, yeah, I would never leave a child like in someone else's bedroom or playroom unattended. Like Yvonne's saying, they should come with us. If we go upstairs to see the bedrooms, the kids should come with us. And we know that as agents, we should always keep an eye on our clients, no matter what age they are. But that's a great idea, to be able to hold their hands and say, okay, we're going to all go together through this house, and we don't want to be responsible for anything that might happen to the people's belongings. All right, that's a great conversation. Thank you guys for the questions. That really helps the flow of everything. Moving on to the laundry room. This is a fun before and after. It's a huge difference. So kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So a couple more points. I always tell my sellers to avoid cooking smelly foods. Sure, they can bake cookies. I get that question all the time. Should I bake cookies before a showing? You don't have to, but go right ahead. Curtains are something that make a really big difference and not that expensive change to a room. If they've got some really outdated curtains that have been hanging there for 20 years, they're probably absorbed smells over the years too. So getting those out of the house and getting something up that's light and bright will make a huge difference. It'll smell better and it'll look better. And you want to get rid of outdated decor. And it's great to add a seasonal touch. A lot of times, a lot of people ask, well, what if, you know, we have to sell our home around Christmas time, you know, can I put up the Christmas tree? And I wanted to know what your experiences have been with that. You know, if a family has children, of course they want to put up a Christmas tree. I think that there's no problem with that. We can still take pictures and represent a house in its, you know, true light with a Christmas tree up, but they don't necessarily need to get out every single, you know, train track and village house and wreath and, you know, deck out the whole house. So I was just wondering if anybody had any questions or experiences with, you know, listing your house during a seasonal time. What do you usually tell your clients? Or have you not had a problem with that?
Usually the only problem is they don't take the tree down soon enough, like in February.
It's still there on Valentine's Day?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That is a problem, especially if they're in the middle of packing or trying to sell a house, they can get distracted, definitely. So then it would be our job to encourage them to take it down. These are some examples of symmetry. We touched on this earlier, and we had one of our smart agents explain that it's pleasing to the eye. So these are some pictures that of some rooms that I've staged or been a part of or walked into, and just want to point out why they work. You know, we've got the symmetry. We have the 2 matching pillows, the 2 matching chairs, matching pillows. Same thing with the pillows on the couch here and chairs here. It doesn't matter how modern or if it's traditional style, the symmetry just works. So in this picture, I particularly chose this one on the right-hand side where it has the swivel chairs that are exactly the same, but you'll notice the pillows are not on the couch. They don't always have to be matching, but it helps to be pleasing to the eye to have something that's symmetric. So this works in this modern picture because we've got something that is symmetrical, but then something that is a little different. So you can see where the pillows do match in some and some they don't. Because I just get asked that a lot. People are like, how many pillows and should they match? And you just want to have something that balances on both sides because it works. Well, there's something else I was going to say on that. Oh, I've had people ask also like how many, and you can either do, I feel like you can find this on Pinterest easy too. And I was going to pull that up, but I forgot. If you have 2 pillows on either side here, or do it in odd numbers, like 3s or 5s work well when you're staging. Just remember odd numbers. That's kind of an interior design secret. There's the odd numbers. All right, we're going to jump to the exterior of the house. So does anybody have any question before we kind of leave the inside of the house and go to the exterior? And then I have some things to touch on for virtual, and then I'll be done. So any other questions on the inside of a home?
No.
All right. So on the exterior curb appeal, you guys, we've all done this. We pull up to the house and you look at it from the street. This is an extensive list. We don't even have to go over it, but you just want to make sure the house is clean, get rid of, you know, spiders and bugs on the front porch, maybe update the house numbers if it's a really old home, get a new doormat, get a cute bench, get some flowers, get rid of the recycle bins and the trash cans. This is just an example of a home that is clean. There aren't even any flowers in this one, but there's greenery. And then we've got some symmetry going on here by the front door. It looks pleasing, it looks inviting, you want to go in. So that's what we're going for on the exterior. Also, I get asked about kids' toys a lot. Of course, if it's a house that's being occupied, the kids need to play outside in the summer, but you can containerize those things or put them in the garage in a bin when you're having a showing. You don't want to leave those all around the yard. You don't want someone tripping on them, and it also might be hard for somebody who doesn't have kids to visualize, you know, what that yard would look like without the kids' presence there. All right, we're gonna jump to virtual staging. And please stop me if you have any questions. There's 2 schools of thought with this. It is something that's becoming more popular now, so I feel like it's really good that we touch on it. There are some things that people don't like about it. Those arguments would be that buyers first see the home online. We all know that everybody's looking online these days. They're bringing the houses to us and saying, please, please get me in as soon as possible, instead of us bringing the houses to them typically. And so an argument with virtual staging is they've seen this house with furniture in it, but then we go look at it and it's vacant and it looks totally different and it throws them off. And so that's an argument that's against it. Sometimes virtual staging makes the house look better than it is. You know, they get to the house and are like, oh my gosh, in the virtual picture, it has different flooring, or, you know, the countertops look brighter or whatever. So you have to be really careful, in my opinion, if you're going to use virtual staging, to still keep the true integrity of the house. Sometimes virtual staging misleads the buyer to think that certain furniture will fit in a space, but it really won't. So that's another thing you have to keep in mind. But if you do have somebody do it professionally and place the fake furniture where it is, and you provide the actual correct dimensions or a floor plan, then they can get it right. The pros to virtual staging is it is the way people look, you know, online for houses. And so sometimes if it's a vacant home, it helps to have furniture. We all know that. Somebody mentioned earlier about the cost for physical staging. Physical staging can cost thousands of dollars. It just depends on if you hire a company, and if you're doing a vacant home, that it's obviously more. So it can, that usually companies charge $750. Well, I know some companies that charge about $500 to $1,000 to come and place the furniture, and then you rent it every month. So it just depends on the company that you have to do that. I used to do that on a regular basis, but I've sold a lot of my furniture, and now I just specialize in staging light, minimal staging, just because I'm so busy and that's where I'm at in my career. And I also help with owner occupied, because I can go in and work with their furniture, and I can just add a couple things and really help them declutter and make their space work. So physical staging on vacant homes obviously costs more, because you have to bring more furniture in and you have to rent it for as long as it might take to get the home sold. People always say, how long should I keep the staging in? I would recommend keeping it until at least the financing and appraisal deadline. There are too many transactions that will get to that point, we all know, and then they don't go through. And I have in my experience had to go back and restage a house after I had removed all the furniture because the transaction did not go through and the seller still needed to market the home. So at least go towards that deadline, if not all the way to a couple days before they close on the home. Virtual staging is a good option because it can mean less money out of pocket for you. And you just have to take the pictures and upload them, and your work is done, and then the company will do the rest for you. Again, you want good, professional, crisp pictures. You can replace or add furniture all day long because you're photoshopping on the computer. Get rid of unwanted objects in a room. You can go into a room and take a picture of it that's completely cluttered and send it to an online company, and they can get rid of all that clutter. So there is some magic involved that's pretty awesome, but you would want that home cleaned out by the time the buyer comes and looks at it, by the time it's listed. So you can completely redecorate the way the home looks and the way the rooms appear. The one thing I like about it, I'm not a big fan, but one thing I do like about it is the buyer can take their phone or their iPad with them, pull up the virtual picture while they're standing in a vacant home, and use it as a point of reference. So that's a way you can get over that previous argument.
Okay.
Yes.
So in the remarks, is it wise to put in there that the home was virtually staged?
Absolutely. I was going to mention that. If you use virtual staging, 100%. It's not like you're, bearing your secret, or you're, saying how you perform this great magic show. It's, in my opinion, absolutely necessary, because as it was brought up earlier in our discussion, sometimes those photoshopped pictures are misleading. And if for any reason somebody looks at it and draws a conclusion, I just think it's safe, and we're protecting ourselves and our sellers by saying, hey, just note, this home has been virtually staged. When you arrive at the property, it is vacant. So I think that's super important to add that in the comments. And then this is how you do it. So good point. You want to put in the listing that it is virtually staged. You take pictures of the rooms that you want virtually staged. You choose a company, and their instructions are very, very simple. There's a lot of them online. And Yes, does somebody have a question? Okay. Then they just have you select an interior style. And so that's really important. You want to go on, you know, if it's a super old home, you don't want it to be decorated glam, right? Like you want to keep in mind if the exterior of the home, the neighborhood it's in, if it's more of a traditional home, or if it's a more modern, brand new home, something like that. Then you upload the pictures of the room, and it's extremely important that you provide the floor plan or the dimensions of the room, as I mentioned before, so that those professionals can place the right size of furniture so that it will look correct. And it's only a couple day turnaround time. Depending upon what company you use, I've seen pricing from $12 to $50 an image. This is a bunch of companies that were referred to me or that other agents have successfully used or been happy with. Boxbrownie.com, Style.Pad Styler. There's also a couple of software programs that you can purchase and then use yourself if you're interested. And you know, that's not my strength, but a lot of people could probably do it themselves. There's even games that I've popped on those just for fun to check those out and to practice, you know. And then I found some apps that might be helpful for people. I don't like being on my phone. As I'm getting older, I want to be in front of the laptop, but I found a Roomy app that's iOS friendly, and then the iStaging is Android friendly as well. So if somebody wants to look into that, here's at least some great ideas to get started. And then this is a picture of a model home I recently went into. And I quickly snapped a picture knowing I was going to teach this class because these colors wouldn't appeal to everybody. This was a very eclectic home. It was, I'm trying to remember what builder. It was Ivory. It was Ivory Homes. It was really unusual. They don't usually go this far out on their model homes, especially in Utah. It looks like, to me, it came out of, you know, another state or something. But I wanted you guys to notice how there is still symmetry. They used a lot of bright colors, and the rest of the house was like this too. Like the dining room had a very, very colorful rug, and all over the house it kind of flowed with these colors, but it still works. It might not be what everybody would choose. I mean, of course it wouldn't be, but there's still symmetry there and there's balance, and so it still worked. And so I wanted to show you that you can use these basic skills we've talked about today with any style and still have a successful outcome when you're done, and also use people's existing furniture that might not match perfectly. You do not have to be matchy-matchy. And so that's the point I wanted to make with this picture. And then this was an interesting magazine. I just got this in the mail and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna use this. So I think as agents, now that you've had this class, your eyes might be opened. You know how you like decide you're gonna shop for a Jeep, and so all of a sudden you notice all the Jeeps on the road, you know, and you didn't before. I think that I'm encouraging you actually as you go forward in your career, helping your sellers stage their homes, get it, you know, ready, to kind of keep your eye open and notice things as you're walking into a store, or just practice. Because I think from my experience, the more experience you have, the better you're going to get at it, and you'll actually like it. I've talked to a lot of particularly male agents that I help, and they're like, I just don't see it. I can't see what's good. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I can walk in a room and I like it. I can tell that it looks good, but I don't know how to make it look good. And I totally understand that, because I have skills that are different than their skills. You know, they're better at other things than I am. And in that case, that's fine. Just hire somebody to help you, or have somebody come and be your second set of eyes. But in this situation, I thought this magazine was a really good way to end. That the pictures to the left and the right of the mirror are not exactly the same, but they complement each other. And then we have our symmetry in our sconces on the wall here, on our chairs. And then again, there's these items right here, and there are 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, there's 2 books, 4, 5. And so that number is an odd number, and it works. So does anybody have any questions? I just wanted to end with do what you love. If you cannot tell that I absolutely love making a space look beautiful from listening to this presentation, then I did something wrong. But I've really loved taking the skills that I've developed over the years and, you know, helping my sellers become really confident that they've got a great home that's in good condition, And so I encourage you guys to find your niche in what it might not be in the staging part of it. And that's great. But find your niche in real estate and go for it and love it. And then everybody will be able to tell and be able to be able to share from your energy. So that's all I got. Does anybody have any final questions?
I don't have any questions, but I want to say that was a great class. I really enjoyed that.
I agree.
Thank you.
It was great. Thanks, Kim.
You betcha. And if you guys ever want any, have any questions, you text me, send me a picture, ask for my opinion. I'm happy to help.
Kim, thank you
Kim.
so much. I asked her to do this, 4 months ago, and she was so nervous. So thank you.
You are welcome.
Yep, great job.
Thank you for supporting me, you guys.
Okay, well, that's all we have for today. So thanks for joining us in our sales meeting today. And Kim, great job. Reach out to her if you guys have any questions. If there's nothing else, then we'll see you around. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for being here.